Welcome to episode number 3 of Elevator Talk. Today it is myself and Clarence, and we are coming to talk to you about are we a product of our environments? So, unfortunately, we don't have Stephen here with us today. Shout out to Steve-O. Hope all is well and wherever you are in the world, Steve-O. But we will hopefully get Stephen back for the next episode. But today it's me and Clarence, and we're about to kick this thing off. Are we products of our environments? Clarence, why don't you kind of kick us off and kind of tell us how we got to this topic, to this discussion, and then let's go into it. Let's go.
Bet. So once again, Clarence, by the way, for you guys who just kind of started tuning in with us, um, honestly, this conversation started the other day. Me and Mariah had a really great conversation. Honestly, as fathers now, just seeing how our kids have kind of shown various interests, right? Various interests into their curiosity, interest into like who they are, things they like, things they don't like. One day my daughter's like, I don't want a baby brother anymore. I want a little sister. And so like they have these little questions and things like, how does the world work? And as we're talking about these things about giving our kids exposure to some of the curiosities, I began to ask myself, man, like, as I began to give my kids different opportunities and different doorways and put them in different environments that I've never been a part of, I just asked myself, like, am I a product of my environment? Am I a product of that? And if I am, how so? And then with that, I guess I have a caveat question would be like, um, with our children, if we're raising them up to a certain way, or if we're having certain expectations for them, are they the product of of that environment that which we're expecting them to be raised in, or that we're trying to raise them into? So it's a kind of a thick question, but it's one of the things I kind of think about on a day-to-day basis now as a father.
Word up, word up. You hit on a lot. So, honestly, I think the easiest way to attack this question is are we products of our environment, or to kind of talk back on our environment, our upbringing, our raising, and then where we are now. And I guess that'll help us just between the two of us. We do understand that this isn't every man in the world. This is,
Right,
once again, this is Elevator Talk. This is our channel, our platform. This is our perspective on life. And
right,
so we're not speaking for every black man on earth or every
right.
man on earth, but we are speaking from our perspective to give you guys insight on very in detail questions. So, Clarence, I kick it over to you again. Kind of give a
Okay.
little bit of discussion and talk on your upbringing and where you are today, and then are you truly a product of the environment you were raised in, or did you
Hmm.
make your own path, sort of, to say the least? So, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah, thanks for the question. Good question. I was gotta have that context and background. So, honestly, you guys already know I grew up in Little Rock. I kind of moved around a lot. I didn't, my mom and them didn't make a lot of money, so we kind of moved around Little Rock. I lived in around areas of John Barrow, by Boyle Park. I lived in North Little Rock for a while. We kind of spent some time by Rose City, and then we almost moved to East End for a time, and then we lived in Southwest Little Rock. Then we moved back to Central Little Rock, and I spent most of the time on Roosevelt, down by the airport, or I spent time on Summit, over there by Central. So being moved around a lot, honestly, I mean, we've seen a lot of things. You see little crackheads on the corner. I mean, you've seen guys trying to gang bang on the streets, trying to do their thing, saying whether they got a sling, but the door was there, opportunities were there, the visual aids were there. But I've always had a strong-willed grandmother, that prayed for us and talked to us, and my uncle was always involved with what we did, kept us trying to do those crazy things and say, hey, you need to be doing that. We're gonna get you over here. And I think my mom, she was able to give us that backbone. We're trying to reinforce us with these things. So hey, we're not going down that road. It affected some of my family members and friends, and I guess I could have let that environment affect me to where I could just follow that, or I could have simply made a different choice. And I think that I had to kind of have to have a come to Jesus moment and being like, Lord, if you want me to go down the right path, you gotta give me some good people in my life I can rock with, and that's why I met you guys. And I think ever since then, I think my life's kind of been changed, at least from my perspective. It's been different ever since. I think the trajectory of where I was going definitely changed, thanks to you guys and the prayer that God answered. So hope I answered your question on that one.
Yeah, you hit on the nail. As far as the background, I think it's good to know the background before you start talking about the future. Because when people want to know where you come from, the question is like, oh, where did or they want to know where you are now. Oh,
Right.
you're a doctor. Oh, you're an engineer. Oh, you're pilot. Oh, you're E6, E7, X, Y, and Z. Right? How did you get here? your daddy, your mom and dad must have been a judge. You're only in your 20s and 30s, you know,
Right.
X, Y, and Z. And so for me, a very similar upbringing. Yeah, me and Clarence spent, I don't know, the last 4 years of my life in Little Rock together almost every other day. I think it was
Yeah.
too many days we were apart. But yeah, man, born and raised in Fushdown, down the street from the airport. Wanted to be a pilot my whole life. That's all I saw, planes take off. That's all I knew
Mhm.
was you know, I wanted to fly planes. Born and raised in Fushdown. The funny part is I went to school in the East End, and I went to after school in the East End. And so most people know me in Little Rock as being from the East End because that's where I spent my childhood. Everybody who knew me knew I was in the East End. I was a part of the East End Players, East End Community Center, Carver. You know, from kindergarten all the way to fifth grade. Or was it sixth grade back then? I think it was fifth grade. Yeah, fifth grade. And then after school, I would go over to the East End Community Center. I mean, my to this day, you know, all my close friends are from the East End, and so you know, that's kind of, you know, my upbringing. But because of that, the East End came with a whole another, you know, another side of it, right? You know, it was,
Right.
you know, a lot of gang bang and a lot of things, you know, that I mean, stuff that could have, you know, helped thrown me off of the trajectory of where I went to. But it's interesting. Every time I go back home and I talk to everyone, you know, from the East End, from Fushdown, they always say, "Man, Mom, we knew you were going to make it. Like if nobody else made it, we knew you were going to make it." I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know, man. Like all the teachers told me I never would amount to be anything. They all
Right.
told me I would be a failure. I mean, it
Mm.
wasn't until high school that I actually had my counselor who believed in me. The
Mhm.
teachers started believing in me, and I started believing in myself.
Right.
And like I said, I struggled all the way through middle school, elementary school. It was pretty rough to say the least.
Mm.
But yeah, my trajectory was, one of my teachers would be, "I was surprised you make it past 21," and I'll never forget her telling me that because
Right.
I'll be 31 on Monday. So I was like, yeah,
Let's
keep it up.
go.
Yeah, let's go, elevator music. Anywho, yeah, so I mean, yeah, so my environment wasn't I didn't know what an engineer was
Mm.
until I was 15 years old. And the only reason I knew what an engineer was because I had a brother who was 7 years older than myself, you
Mhm.
know, going to engineering school. And he gave me a phone call one day. He was like, "Man, I know you want to fly planes, but how about you design, build them, and fly them?" And I was like, "What?" There's a I can do what? I was like,
Mm.
what is that called? He was like, it's called aerospace engineering. And I was like, I don't know what that is, but that's what I want to do. You know, that's what I want to do. So in the ninth grade, 15 years old, I'm a kid, a black kid from the hood with his mind made up. I'm gonna be
Mm.
an aerospace engineer no matter what it costs, no matter what it takes. And
Mm.
so I remember I went from remedial classes to taking pre-AP classes to taking AP classes to like, oh, this is easy. Like, it's a walk in the park. And even in those classes, like the environment wasn't set for us. The
Right.
only two people I can remember in my AP classes was you and Steven. You know, and this is Central. Central got 2,000 kids. And I
Yeah.
mean, you know what I'm saying? The graduation class was 1,000, and
Mhm.
I can count on my hand how many African American students were in my class. And, you know, in my
Oh yeah.
English class, in my physics class, in my chemistry class, in my biology class, in my math class, my calculus class, I can count on my hands about 3 to 4 per class out of 30, 40 students, you know. And so the reality is the environment wasn't meant for me to succeed, but by
Mm.
God's grace, here we are today, you know,
Yes, Lord.
as a rocket scientist slash engineering manager and as a very distinguished airman, you know what I'm saying? So
Right.
I mean, you know, are we products of our environment in some shape, forms, or fashion? There's things we learned, there's things we overcame, and there's
Right.
things that we didn't let hinder us. But at the end of
Mhm.
the day, you know, by God's grace, we were able to create our own paths, our own destinies, and chase them out. And we didn't let because I'm from the East End, because my mama doesn't have a lot of money and we got to move around. I'm gonna have to struggle the rest of my life, right? We didn't stay in the soapbox of this is my product, so I got to do what it is. It's like nah, that I don't want to do that, so I got to
Right.
find something better to do. So,
That's a good
and I
point.
think, yeah, yeah. So go ahead. You're about to say something.
No, I mean that's a really good point. I just like as you were talking, I said, man, that's funny. You say like you kind of had people who always kind of like you had people in the community be like, yo, if anybody make it, it'd be you. Then you had like the teachers and leaders being like, hey, you ain't gonna make it past 21. You ain't gonna blah 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 blah. But it's like for me, I had the opposite. I kind of didn't struggle with grades. I kind of felt like I was the nerd. I was the bookworm. I was the token black guy. In every class, and that's what I was used to. And I guess I never had anybody tell me or I never had to hear those words of like, "You ain't gonna make it," or like, we don't believe in you. Like, I always had like, I feel like I had a backing of people who's like, Clarence Black, oh, I'm not worried about you. Next, it's like we already know you're gonna make it. And I feel like I always struggle with that. I'm like, well, where's my little cheerleaders telling me I need to go on, and then as I got older, I'm like, man, I kind of am glad that those people who kind of like, I won't say they wrote me off with success, but it's like it kind of made me challenge myself a little bit, like kind of do a little introspective lens check. And I guess, like, say, when you go back to the asking the questions, like the product of your environment, I don't know, it's kind of hard to say yes or no. Like you kind of said, it's because at one point you're you regardless. Like it's only one of you, and so regardless of what the external circumstances are, or the outside influences, you're gonna make your own decision. You're gonna choose to let those things affect you, whether it be good or bad. And I think that you as an individual, as you begin to grow older, once I think we should say a saying in high school: if you knew better, you do better. And I think that's what it comes down to: being the product and bringing the product of your environment. Is like, if you know better, then you would expect someone to do better or make better decisions, which is not always the case, as we already know. So I think you hit it right in the head. I mean, you did a really, really good context background there.
I mean, yeah, man. I think the key is, the products of us. Because like I say, if you say if I'm a product of my environment, then I'm locked up and in jail, and I'm on like some crazy charges, and it's like stupidness.
Right.
So it's the environment was not set up for us to succeed at all. The school system wasn't set up for us to succeed. If it wasn't for the grace of us being in AP classes,
Right.
I would have never made it through college ever. Without the AP college, without the AP classes, and the teachers pushing me beyond my limits to write 10-page papers and to be able to do calculus and differential equations and physics and things that my other peers honestly never had an opportunity to even partake in. I mean, they were working on, trying to figure out how to, I forgot the name of it, the ATP rule on how to write a paragraph. When they graduated, high school, and we're sitting here writing, doctoral long, letters, derivatives and all these crazy things that, like I say, they never had the opportunity to do. And so, and it's crazy because the environment is in the same building. My AP classes was right down the hall from the regular class. It was just a separation of duties and a separation of class. In reality, it was like two or three schools in one. You had the in-school suspension group, who none of them ever had a chance, because they were stuck in the room with the teacher who just looked at them, and they looked back at her all day long. And then you had the regular students who had really good teachers with really good hearts, but those teachers could never have enough control over 30, 40 kids at that caliber of, people wanting to fight in class, I mean, people wanting to do drugs in class and X, Y, and Z. And then you had us in this peer class of very rich, affluent white people. And I'm talking about the richest in town.
I know.
I'm talking about like very wealthy, very rich white people. And here we are, from Flick down from the hood, we just like, my salary, mom and dad's salary, 30,000 a year. We just making it. And these people are like, oh yeah, we make 200, 300,000 a year. I got a car, my brother has a car, my uncle has a car. We all got cars. And, here we are. We try to pitch pennies together, to throw it at the gas tank of the Sonoma just to make it happen. But hey, it is what it is. But having the different classes in the same place, kind of honestly, it helped us be who we are today. Because I feel like if we were in those regular classes, I would have never went to college. I graduated Central with a 4.3. What was your GPA?
I had a 3.5, I think.
Yeah, and that's with AP classes. So, and those are way heavier than the regular classes, And so, if I was in regular, I would have never made it. Even though I'm in the same environment, it was 3-4 different classes in the same environment that honestly helped, propel us to that next level. And then really, it was a relationship with God, really seeking His face. We had an encounter. I always told people, having an encounter with Jesus is like getting hit by a train. And people are like, what? Like, what kind of description is that? If you get hit by a train, you're like completely disembodied. I said, exactly. You can't have an encounter with Jesus and walk away the same. The same way you can't have an encounter with a train and walk away the same. It's the same way with Jesus. And around 9th, 10th grade, we all had an encounter with Jesus. That's where Steve and Clarence and I met. And man, it changed our lives. It changed the trajectory of our lives from there. Steve met his wife, doing missionary work across the, the world. Got a twin babies and a girl. Clarence was pushed off to go into the military and chase his desires and dreams. Got a baby girl and a baby boy, and all three of us are married. Like, none of this stuff is normal. Like when I look at my peer group and the people I grew up with, marriage is like, what? Like, I can count on my hand how many people are married. I can count on my hand how many babies out there. Trust me, it's more babies than it is marriages. But that's a product of our environment. Their mom and father did the same thing. Their parents did the same thing. It's generational curses, that we, as when we start believing in Christ, really start seeking his face, we said, look, we're going to break these chains. Somebody has to do it. If I'm not going to do it, somebody else will. So why not me? And so I think those questions that we asked ourselves, and we put ourselves in the shoes and say, look, if we don't break these chains, our children are going to suffer like our children, or suffer like our peers, our environment, or be stuck. And so somebody had to do it. So here I am, Lord, send me, I'll go. And that's kind of been our motto, from the get-go. So yeah, even though we were in an environment, I still think, God kept us. God, by his grace, we were able to kind of rise up above that environment, and then to branch out and to be who we are today, and so not being like, oh, I'm from the hood, so I gotta, have this hood mentality, and there's nothing wrong. Like, trust me, I can talk the talk and walk the walk, but at the end of the day, that talk and that walk don't pay no bills, in this house at least. So So I mean, it's cool to be like, oh, you from. It's so funny. The people from the hood never glorified the hood. It was the people who weren't from the hood who were trying to act like they were from the hood. Everybody in West Little Rock was trying to act like they were hood. Maumelle, coming from Maumelle and Jacksonville and all of these, upper echelon places. Yeah, all the hood. Man, like, everyone look at it, they're like, but like, this ain't nothing to boast about. Like, we were born here. We didn't. We didn't choose this. This is how we were raised. And so to see people trying to emulate something that to us was like all the girl, I want a hood girl. I want a hood this. We were like, nah, bro. I don't want no ratchets. I don't want no hoodlums. I don't want none of that. Like, we with a 10-foot pole, But you got people like, oh man, she got to be hood. And I'm like, nah, doc, that ain't what you want. That ain't what you want. What you say?
So that ain't the move. Because, man, I mean, like, I don't know. It's funny because I feel like we're kind of reliving some things, some of like past decisions, and some of those kind of those past memories of, like, we kind of made subtle choices along the way. I think that a lot of times when we try to look back, I think we miss some of those key decision moments, which, everybody, we're not. I don't think our memory can remember everything. I think there's very, very low percentage of people that actually have a really great memory. But I think that when people begin to describe themselves, or maybe sometimes just step back and look back at their life, like from a third person view, it's like, man, like, what were some of those key decisions that I made, or, things that were provided for me that kind of led me to where I'm at today. And I think, for me, I say when I joined ROTC, back in high school, I was able to do it. And that kind of cemented a lot of opportunities for me to be able to, I'm like, you know what, I want to do this military thing. I want to join the military. I want to do this and that, blah, 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 blah. And I went across the world, deployed, and there all these cool, crazy stuff, and just like, man, it's just surreal. I'm actually doing what I said I want to do. And I came in ready to go. I came in hard charging, because I knew that if I was to be relaxed, right, kind of like you said earlier, if I was to take those regular classes, I knew I would not be where I am today. Because I know I would not have given my best effort. I would have done kind of like half-heartedly. When I put my best foot forward, I would have kind of like stepped out and done something different. Because if everybody around me is doing nothing, I guess I'm gonna do nothing, And so being able to kind of change those friends, right, change that environment, I keep reflecting on that word environment, because the environment is subjective. I think not everybody can make it out. Of course, there's some people who literally just by just random and rare circumstances, they can be stuck in a cycle. Whether it be mentally or spiritually, whatever. But for those that do have the opportunity, right? For those that, they talk about the life but not about it, you have a choice you can make that can be different, that can change your actual environment, that can change the part of who you are if you desire to do so. And so it's like, hey, how do we as people, not just a race issue, but as a human being, as a man, as a woman, how do you begin to make those choices to be more responsible? How do you make those choices, to drive accountability for yourself? Rather than playing what they call it, the victim Olympics, how do you just begin to change, your own environment to kind of pursue what you wanted? Like, what was your dream? What was that one thing that just, you was like, man, I just, if anything in the world I want to do is I want to be this. And why not? Why are you not doing it? Why are you not taking those steps to get it done? And so it's just like, so we're not, so you know what, I'm gonna say it. My thesis is no, I'm not a product of my environment. I think I created byproducts of my environment, but I am not that product. Because if I just simply allow the input to just be that alone, then the output that came out would have been the same. So, if I've sown an apple seed, if I water it right, it should be an apple tree. But it wasn't, hey, I had all these weird and dark things invested in me and put into me, but yet that's not what came out on the other side to where I am now. Other things came. Now, granted, it was God's grace, which is 99.9% of it. Not actually, take it back, 100% of it. Because, like I said, there were some dark things in my past that I had to walk through, and God literally had to walk me through it. And if I didn't have that encounter with Jesus at the altar that night in my room in the middle of Little Rock, and just been cry my heart out, and if I didn't really become honest with God at that moment, I don't think that the things I've been able to endure and the things I've been able to encounter and be able to experience, I wouldn't have had that kind of experience. So, true testament to what you already said about just, if you have an encounter with Jesus, your life will not and cannot be the same if it's a true encounter, for sure.
Absolutely. You hit on it, so many different things.
I know, my bad.
No, you're good. You're good because you answered the question. Am I a part of my environment? Is no, and I'm a witness that no too. It's like, even though I was in this environment, I didn't allow that environment to limit who I was and what I should be based on what was projected by leaders and teachers. But I broke through it and said, no, this is who I should be, and because I had a should be in there, I did not do what they wanted me to do, what society said I should have did. And so here I am today, living in Hawaii as an engineering manager for the world's biggest aerospace company.
The good guy.
Yeah. I'm a CEO of multiple real estate businesses, real estate investment holdings, property management company, Big Bros Catering and LLC for you in Little Rock. I'm all over the place, man. And it's by God's grace, and then I always tell people that it's by His grace, man. It's by His grace. I submit to the will and I say, have your way, God. My body is yours, my mind is yours, my soul is yours. I'm all yours. Have your way. And I give all the credit, the honor, and the glory to Him. People say, well, Myron, you're a rocket scientist, so you're just really smart. And I'm like, you didn't see me before I was a rocket scientist. so you see the byproduct of me not being a part of my environment. But when I was in my environment, I was in my environment. Clarence used to be the kid with the books. Clarence, oh God, Clarence used to get on the bus, had like 30 books in his head. Then he had 30 books in his backpack. And on the way to school, everybody else is roasting each other. Roasting is talking about each other, fighting, and doing all this crazy stuff. And Clarence is sitting there reading the book. And honestly, Clarence was the first Black kid I ever saw read a book. I'm not even lying. Outside of school, I have never in my life, until I met Clarence, seen a guy read a book. Never. And even to this day, when it comes to my group of friends, or my network, the people of color, it's very rare that I see people reading books. It's like super rare. But man, like it was just, I remember him sitting. Clarence was like real quiet, like kind of to himself. And he and his brothers were like, they were kind of the same way, but they will have books, man. They were reading books on the way to school. Our school ride was long. We had to pick up so many kids. We went from Footsdam to the East End to College Station. It was crazy. And so, we had a very long ride to school every morning. But the rest of us was sitting there, talking about each other, playing crazy games. And Clarence was literally sitting there reading his book, man. Like I said, when I was in my environment, I was definitely in it. But like I said, I didn't allow that to limit me to be the man that I am today. And honestly, anybody in my environment could be, where I am, above where I am, and doing what I'm doing. But like I said, we look at the numbers. I always tell people, how many rocket scientists do you know? And they're like, I don't know no rocket scientists. And I'm like, you know me, so you know at least one. Just looking at the numbers, it's rare, right? It's a rare field. I get it. I understand it. But at the same time, I always tell people, if you put your mind to it, make your mind up, you could be where you want to be and do where you want to go. A lot of people just don't have that motivation. They don't have that drive. They don't have that push. And honestly, like everybody from the East End and push down, man, all my brothers and sisters got that push and that drive. They got it. Just a lot of them didn't apply it. And a lot of them know it's there, but they're kind of like, well, why work hard, when I can just, make it through, and it's like, it's unfortunate, but at the reality, at the end of the day, every one of my brothers and sisters, from Pushdown to East End to College Station to West Little Rock to Northside, all of them, man, they all could do and be, and become who they want to be. It's just, it's choices. We make choices, and we got to live with those choices that we make, unfortunately, and fortunately for others. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because I think another good caveat about this question, we can talk about self, right? We can talk about what we had to do, but also don't want to discredit, some of the other people that was in our circle of influence, that either were laid down their hands for us to step on to get to the next step, or whether it be your parent, I know it's Papa Fletcher, man, sorry about your greens on that day. I have not forgotten about. I ate your greens. I apologize for that. I still hungry to this day. But there was a quote I think I read in this book I'm reading this book called Good to Great. This is like my second time reading it. And I think the quote says that people are not your most important assets, but it says the right people are. And, I'm in this new phase of like trying to understand people and understanding like, who are these people that's in my circle that either I have attached to or that have attached to me. And like, what are they doing for the circle? Like, what are they doing for the network? And are they building worth? Are they adding value? Whatever they may be. And like I said, with this quote, it's not about just having a number of people. It's like, are these the right people that you should be having in your circle? That can help you change your environment, or they can actually help you be a better product. What do you think about that? I mean, does that kind of make sense, or is kind of you kind of have like an opposing view to that?
No, the people, I mean, man, the people in your circle are definitely gonna either be crabs in the barrel or be, birds in the sky, is how I put it. The crabs in the barrel mentality is, when somebody starts to see you crawl out, it's like, I'm gonna use you to crawl out too, not knowing that me pulling on you is gonna cause you. I wasn't that I was trying to pull you back. I was trying to get to where you were. But in the process of trying to get to where you weren't strong enough to pull yourself out. So now here we are in the same boat, right? And so you got the crab in the barrel mentality. And then the other one is hey, we flying in the sky. We want everybody to come with us, baby. And so the circle definitely influences. First of all, it's the environment influences the circle, but then the circle can really isolate you from the environment or push you back out into the environment, into that crab mentality. So yeah, definitely, man. Once my circle begin, because your circle changes, from elementary school to middle school to high school to to college to adult life, it changes. But having the right people and the right mentalities in the right place can really propel you a very, very, very far ways. I always tell people, if people say, I want to be a millionaire, I'm like, how many millionaires do you know? Well, I don't know any. Well, darn it, wouldn't it be nice if you just had a millionaire in your friend circle to where you could ask certain questions? Hey, how do you make your first million? And how do you make your second million? And how do you do, like, having somebody you can ask questions to versus just sitting there playing the thick game? Because trust me, $1 million just don't fall out the sky. I mean, there's a very few people who've hit the lotto, which is the $1 million falling out the sky. But outside of them, the rest of us, $1 million doesn't fly out the sky. It comes from strategic planning and strategic investments and ideas and X, Y, and Z's. But yeah, the circle will definitely influence the environment. Absolutely.
And I wonder too, because like I said, that's just something that's my new focus, right? It's changing that circle, because you have, like I say, the circle changes, and not that it doesn't always have to be a bad reason, right? It could be just simply you kind of outgrew the circle. Maybe you have another aspiration that go to the next level. That maybe that circle that you're a part of, maybe they're good where they are, and You know, they gave you good things to get to where they are, but yet you're ready to keep moving on. And I think my next, I guess, circle of influences have been my family, which is weird, right? Um, it's like, how am I influencing them? How am I teaching them? How am I instructing them as a father? It kind of goes a little bit back to that fatherhood question a little bit, because, it goes back to that part of my environment where I didn't have the best example of a father in my home, and I kind of didn't have a father in my home. And so, if I allowed that example to be just my all all inclusive, vision or perspective of life, I wouldn't have been the father I am today. I wouldn't have, I wouldn't probably be focused on my children as much. I probably won't be in the home as much. I'll probably be out there buzzing down anybody else out there in the streets to just be running around town. But by the grace of God, I'm not. And so, my next foot of influence, I've been trying to influence my family, from my wife to my children, to dream big. It's getting back to that place of have those dreams. Like, what's the dream? What do you want to do when you grow up? And they're like, they're 6 and 4. What are you gonna do when you grow up? I want to be a doctor. Next week they may say, like my daughter said, my daughter, she said, I want to be a postwoman, or the lady who dropped all the mail off, and she wants to be a police officer. Then she wants to be this person. Okay, well, we're gonna start giving you little small things to do. Watch Dr. McStuffins, or get you a little stethoscope, and when we go to the doctor, ask them all these questions, see if you can hear your heart rate. And so it's like, hey, how can I begin to provide an opportunity for my children to create that kind of environment to where it's like, hey, you can dream big, you can do what you want. Because, in the past, for me personally, I feel like I was taught from a place of fear. No, we just be content where you are, work that $30,000 to $40,000 job, work that 9 to 5 all day, get the debt, swipe that credit card, be in debt, pay off for the rest of your life, and work for that pension check. And I'm like, that's not enough. Like, this is not what I want. That's not the future I want. So, my next focus has definitely been influencing my family, because as a father, it's a great role, to teach and mentor and to instruct in a proper way. Of course, trying to teach your daughter, hey, this is the characteristics of a man you should be looking for in the future. Or if you're talking about some dating, 9 to 30 for me, it's like, if you're gonna talk about this boy coming around the house, let me see what his character's like. What's his character like? Let me see who this dude is. Who's his parents? And same thing for my son. Same standards. Like, hey, son, like, you told me you want to do all these things. All right, here's a line. This you are black now, not just half black and half white, but you're black now, and it's like, this is what we do. This is how you do it. And so just kind of being ready to pass that torch on. So yeah.
No, yeah. I think one thing that I tell all my mentees that I do a lot of mentorship, and the first thing I tell them is, what were you taught to do as a child? And about 90% of the time, this is what I hear. My parents told me to go to school, get a good education, get a good career, get me a house, a wife, kids, and get me a car, and then I've made it. And I always ask them, where are you at right now? Most of them will say, well, I got a house, I got a kid, I got married, and I got a car, but something's missing. And I'm like, what's missing? And I don't know, because they never told me what they think beyond that. And I was like, so what I always encourage, my mentees is, and even to myself, this is what I get myself encouragement is, question everything you were ever taught. Question everything you were ever taught. And so, because I always question what I was taught, it causes me to dive deeper into why I was taught it, where did it come from, and where is it going to get me? And prime example, you kind of mentioned, whereas, the kids want to do things and X, Y, and Z. For me, for the kid perspective, it's all about exposure. You have to expose your kids to everything. And when I say everything, I'm talking about as far as environments and as far as careers, right? You want your kid to know what a doctor is. You want your kid to know what an engineer is. You want your kid to know what a pilot is. You want your kid to know what X, Y, and Z is. So you expose them. And then with their curiosity, they'll begin to say, Dad, can we go to the airport? And my sons, I'll take them to the airport here in Maui, and we'll just sit at the airport and watch planes take off and land. And they're satisfied. They'll just sit there and watch the plane. Daddy, plane, daddy, plane, daddy, plane. They even are able to start naming them. And if you ask Myron what he wants to be, he's going to say he wants to be a doctor. If you ask Michael what he wants to be, he's going to say he wants to be an astronaut. And remember, my kids are 3 and 1. And so the reason they have that steadfastness is because Dad won't allow them to be stagnant and, oh, they're just kids. Like, yes, they're kids, but these kids are going to grow up one day and they're going to go up to be somebody, something. And if I don't take the ability to expose them to X, Y, and Z now, either the world's going to expose them or the media is going to expose them, and they're going to want to go down a completely different path than the
Right.
path that I know is better for them. And so our parents, their path was, yo, man, like, be better than us. Don't go into the credit card debt. You know, get you a good, get you a house, get your wife, get your kids, get your car, and you're good. You know, but for me, it's like, I want a private jet. I want a helicopter. I want a few, you know, $1 million cars. And people say, what? Like, that's crazy. Like, what are you talking about? But this is just me and my little self. Okay. Let me and my little self stay in my little soapbox. But this is what these are desires that I have. And it's not saying like none of these are like, to me, they're not vanity. It's just desires that I have. You know, I'm a collection of AMGs right now. And people are like, man, what you, as a kid, like everybody had, you know, Mercedes. No, I ain't never seen no Mercedes as a kid. Matter of fact, I take that back. My dad's best friend, David Charles, he had a Mercedes in his backyard. I don't even know if he drove the thing or not, because when I was a boy. But he had a Mercedes, and I remember seeing that thing. It was beautiful, and I was like, that is the most beautiful car I've ever seen. And I remember, you know, as a kid, like, man, like that was an aspiration to me to own a Mercedes. And nobody in my neighborhood had no Mercedes. We were like GMCs, Dodge, Chevy, baby. That was kind of it. You know, it wasn't none of that fancy stuff. No Lexus, no none of that. Like none of that was even in whatever. That wasn't not in my neighborhood. But like I said, here I am, you know, with this crazy desire of wanting to, you know, own Mercedes, not only Mercedes AMGs, you know, and people always ask, like, how in the world can you afford something like that? And I tell people that's the wrong question. It's not how can you afford it, it's what do I need to do to afford it. And so we begin to change your perspective on the, man, that's impossible to, oh, wait a minute. If that car costs $100,000, that means the payment on that car is $2,000. So the question is, what do I need to do to make $2,000 a month in order to afford that vehicle? And then it's like, oh, wait a minute. All I got to do is make $10 a day, and that's an extra $300 a month. So if I make $20 a day, that's an extra $600 a month. So if I make $30 a day, that's, you know, you start going up, and it's just an escalation scale. Like, wait a minute. So with an extra $100 a day, I can buy a Lamborghini. Yes, it's that simple. It's that simple. $100 a day, a month. $30,000, you can afford a Lamborghini, a Ferrari, a McLaren, Aston Martin, all of those. You can afford Rolls Royce, all of them, but an extra $100 a day. And now $100 a day may seem big to some people, but some to others, $100 a day is like, dude, like I make that in my sleep, which I do. So, but yeah, anywho, not trying to boast or brag, but it's changed the mindset, the mentality, and then it's changing it for ourselves, but then it's passing it down and getting our kids to even start to think about it now. My kids, Myron can add and subtract. He's 3 years old. He can add and subtract, and not because he's just this genius, but mom and dad won't accept anything less. Mom happens to be an aerospace engineer as well, and so that does. Don't get me wrong, but we won't accept mediocrity. We won't accept the this is the milestone you're supposed to be at, so you're good. We're always pushing, and not pushing them out of being kids, because our kids are kids and they're having fun. They're going to play on their tablets. They're going to watch Coco Melon. They're going to watch Baby Shark. They're going to turn up. They're going to do all the baby stuff. Trust me, it's going to happen. But at the same time, there's discipline to where every night, when I first started off with Myron, you know, it was, Dad, I don't want to read a book this tonight. To now it's, Dad, can you go get 3 books? Can we read 3 books tonight? These are kids asking me to read books. I wouldn't ask my mom and them to read me no book. My mom read me a book every night, but I didn't ask, Mama, can you read me a book tonight? She was like, no, you're gonna read this book tonight, boy. No suggestion. This is what's gonna happen. My kids now, it's embedded, and we can get this into them at this age, at this beginning stage of life, where it becomes it's a part of life. I'm gonna say my prayers over my food. I'm gonna say my prayers before I go to bed. I'm gonna say my prayers when I wake up. I'm gonna read these books before I go to sleep. I'm gonna put my toys up before I go to sleep. It's all about establishing habits that are going to work off of them. Them doing these little things now, when they become adults, they're going to be freaking bulletproof, because people are going to say, man, they're disciplined, and it's not even discipline. It's just a part of their lives. They're like, dude, I thought we brush our teeth before we go to bed. What do you mean? You don't brush your teeth before you go to bed? Like, that's nasty. You know, that's that reality. Their reality is when you wake up, you go potty, you throw away a diaper if you had one on, You
Uh-huh.
stand up on that thing, you brush your teeth, you come to mommy and daddy, and put, it's order, and it's the
Yes.
same thing every day. And once
Yep.
you establish that, those little seeds, we talk about planting seeds. You plant these little seeds, and next thing you know, your kid is freaking. Everybody's like, man, these kids are brilliant. They're smart. How old is he? What, 5 or 6? No, he's 3. He's just 3. Don't make him older than he is. He's just 3. And so I'm on the rampage. But yeah, that's kind of the. I'm piggybacking off of what you said, but like I said, it really goes down to exposure and changing the mindset of the father and the mother in the house to really have that oneness of mind to say we're going to push our kids to be even better than we are. And a lot of people, I don't think I've made it. I don't think I've achieved, this so-called thing in life. I'm just a person that's hungry and have a desire to be better, do better, and to raise other generations up to do the same thing. And that's honestly that's how I think about myself. That's how I look at myself. Other people esteem me and put me on pedestals and stuff. I'm not trying to be on a pedestal. I just want to do that which God has called me to do. And that I believe is to love my neighbor as I love myself and to lift this next generation up to be better than this one. So that's my 2 cents. I'll pass it over to you.
No, I mean, you talking about 2 cents, that's like $1 worth, which is good, because I feel like that's probably why we're connected so well, because I think we both have inner passions. I've begun kind of confirm that passion within me is to teach the next generation. And I think we do it at different facets, right? And and if you know us, if you met us, you will see that we're fired up about it. I can talk to you about, we can talk about it for hours. We're passionate about this because we see the value in it. And so when you talk about the children and the parenting, that's something I tackle on constantly. I'm part of a different organization here with early child development, and the biggest fault I've ever seen, with the involvement of kids learning at this early stage in life is parents' involvement. And I mean, I literally preach it till I'm blue in the face. Like, parents, get your butt involved with your children. Like, the enemy preys on our children because they have nothing to do. Like, they're idle hands, idle minds, because you're not teaching your kids a standard. You're not teaching them, hey, what are these daily good habits to starting now? Give them responsibility. Like, establish trust within them, establish some type of accountability. Like, my dog, we talk about that stuff all the time. We talk about accountability and responsibility. We give them chores to do. We give them, hey, if that's their chore to do, that's a family chore. You're not getting an allowance for that. That's what you should be doing. And now you do anything above and beyond, then you can start earning those different things. But it's like at a young age, you're teaching them these basic, simple habits that, days on and years on from now, it's going to be like, wait a minute, y'all don't do that? That's weird, because like that's all they know. And now they're somehow a step above people, but they're really not. They've just done things a little bit more differently, more successful, I guess, in a sense, building better habits. And so I think you hit it well. You said it well, because we're doing the same exact thing in our home. I'm all about teaching my kids, teaching my children, because parents don't teach their children enough, I think, today. They allow their kids to kind of just blow their own sails, be their own ships. I'm like, last time I took them to you, a taxpayer in this house, you bringing money to the house, you ain't got nothing to say. You're gonna ride the ship where we riding on. I'm steering the ship. We're gonna ride this thing out. We're gonna float the sails. And wherever God's blowing our sails is where we're heading. But we're heading in a direction. We're not sitting on the sea, just floating and bobbing and go wherever the wind blows. God, we're seeking you. Father, we're seeking you. Come into prayer. Wife, we're gonna pray tonight. We're coming to the Father to pray. We got people who are in need of some things. We pay it to the altar. Our children, hey, let's pray tonight. We're gonna pray over some things tonight. Children, I want you guys to start the prayer off tonight. And we pray together as a family. We say the Lord's Prayer as a family. And we begin to start teaching the kids about having faith and having that power and authority through Christ. And it's like, man, I can, so if I struggle, I can just ask the Holy Spirit, I can ask you to like, just come be with me at this moment. I'm having a hard time. Yes, you can, because you can pray to the Lord Jesus, because you can. And I say, and so we just sit there and stop. And sometimes she had a dream a couple of weeks ago. They watched some weird, video about bears or something. They were like, it's a bear in the room, we're scared. I'm saying, no. I said, child of mine, this is what the Bible says. God's not giving me a spirit of fear, but a power of love and a sound mind. Let's pray about it. Let's pray for power, love, and a sound mind. And begin to pray. And she's like, thank you, Daddy, for that. And so now she's I call her a little mini prayer warrior. She loves to pray. And then she goes to her friend's house and they get scared. And what does she wants to do? We're going to pray. Hey, my dad told me to pray. I'm like, thank you, Jesus. Like, I couldn't imagine this moment. I could be more prouder, more happier. And so it's like being able to be parents and fathers now, to kind of be active, right? To be putting the seeds in the ground, to be sowing the seeds in the ground, to be taking care of these seeds in the ground. I mean, fathers, we got to stand up. We got a job to do. We got to stand guard. And it's so important in society today as they're pushing so many different agendas and so many different things. we got to be on guard. You know, we got to begin to get back to our own, taking care of our homes, taking care of our marriages, and taking care of our children, and not just letting these things kind of free reign around. So I can't add more to what you're saying. I just think that as we talk about it more and more, it just begins to kind of unfold like an onion, more and more layers of just how important it is to change the product to not be to not be the product of your environment by making these small changes over time. So I mean, I don't know what else I can add on that.
I mean, yeah, you hit on some real good stuff there, Clarence. One of the things you hit on was parents have to be more involved. Um, I think a lot of parents, we get so caught up in our day to day that we forget, that we got this procreation that's waiting on us to make the next move, to do the next thing. And if we don't show them how to do it, somebody else will. And
Right.
9 times out of 10, that thing that will is not what you want them to learn from. But the unfortunate fact is, most parents are working 2 to 3 jobs. And so when it comes to what is your kid learning at home, you're not even at home to teach them. And if you're not home, then they're with grandma or grandpa or auntie and uncle. Auntie and uncle have lived their lives. They ain't got time to do, what the new parent should be doing. And so a lot of people always ask us, before mine went into school, it was, what school does he go to? And we were like, he's not in no school. I'm like, but how does he know how to do X, Y, and Z? We were like, we spend time with our child. And they were like, wait, what? You taught him? Who else is supposed to teach your child? Like, I was so confused when I heard that question. And then it hit me. We kept running into that. Like, how does your kid know X, Y, and Z? We were like, we taught them X, Y, and Z. And they were, and it was just, they hit me like, man, these parents really don't spend time with their kids. Like what they call spending time isn't actual time. It's just presence. Like their presence is in the house and they're home. So, I'm spending time with my kids. Like me and a wife will sit down with our kids 2-3 hours a day and just sit down with them, go over ABCs, go over 1 through 20, go over X, Y, and Z. We'll sit down and make a conscious effort to teach our kids, to make sure they're learning on a constant basis from the day they were out the womb. Even when they were in the womb, we even buy like the thing that goes on the belly where we could speak to our kids, read scriptures, talk to them, read books, X, Y, and Z. Tierra has her own book. We'll play the audio book, mom talking about her life and the 12 wonderful women of science, right? And so it's a little thing, it's the little nuggets that we put as parents today that are going to shape our children for tomorrow. And so my encouragement is to all parents, please do a better job of investing in your children, not just time, but they need you they need to learn from your experiences and learn what not to do. And they need the ability to hear and see that mom and dad may have not done everything right, but this is what we're going to do to make sure you're right. It's not about being perfect. None of us are perfect. Clarence isn't perfect. I'm not perfect. Stephen isn't perfect. We'll all confess and say we're not perfect. But from our mistakes, what we learn, we choose to do better. And we choose to pass that knowledge and that wisdom down to the generations so they don't repeat the same processes. Prime example, people talk about bad credit. Credit is like one of the biggest things that people struggle with. Well, guess what? My 3-year-old and 1-year-old already have credit. They already have credit that's being established. When they're 18 years old, they can do what they want to do. They'll have an 800 credit score with 18 years of credit built up. The day my kids enter this earth, they already have a credit card. I kid you not. And then people talk about, well, financially, what do you guys do? The day they enter this world, they had a mutual fund saved. They had an ETF saved. They had real estate stock saved. They already got all of this stuff. And we're just building because of the knowledge and wisdom we have. We choose to pass it down so they don't have to go through the same struggles of, I don't have enough money for a down payment on the house, or I can't go rent because I can't get utilities in my name. Dad, I need you to co-sign because I don't have any credit. Those are things. I couldn't get an apartment. I couldn't get utilities in my name. I couldn't buy a car, because my parents didn't know any better at the time that, you can get your kid a credit card, when they're 0 years old, but you can. You absolutely can. And both of mine do. And my third one will when he pops out in October. So, it's little secrets and I call them secrets. They're not really secrets because people know about them. Maybe not everybody. And I say maybe not everybody. When I talk to my mentees, they're like, wait, what? You mean to tell me my 3-year-old daughter can get a credit card? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. You can make her an authorized user. She gains your credit history. And when she becomes of age, and there's American Express is a big one that does it, Visa, MasterCard, a Discovery, you can add your kids. When they turn 13, you can actually cut them a card and get them their own physical. Well, they already have physical cards, but you can actually get them in your own names, not under your name alone. And so, I mean, it's all types of tips and tricks and all these different things that we can do to make it better for the next generation. And so, but really, like I tell people, financial literacy is key for all types of breakthroughs, especially when it comes to marriages, to relationships, to life. If you have financial literacy, man, understanding what the dollar does, how it works, and how useful it is, you begin to understand, like, oh, this is why you make investments here. This is how you make investments. What's an investment? Like, kids should be learning at this age what an investment is. I always tell people, you go all the way through kindergarten, middle school, high school, all the way through college. The one thing you weren't talking about was money. Why was that? And people are like, Dad, you're right. Nobody ever taught me about money, because it's easier to keep you poor than it is to make you rich. And so if you wanna build wealth, if you want to build accumulations of funds, you have to self-educate. You have to do the work on your own, and don't be that parent that says, oh, don't be like me when you grow up. No, like, don't make the mistakes. Don't make the mistake, parent. Do better now so that your kids can learn from you and say, well, shoot, mom and dad did it this way, so we're gonna do it even better than they did it, right? And it becomes generational, better and better and better. And before we know it, we got generations that are self-sustaining, doing massive things, making massive moves. 3 generations ago, that wasn't even, we couldn't even vote 3 generations ago in my family. So I mean, it's little bitty things that we have the power and the ability to do now that we didn't then, but we must empower ourselves first. As parents, empower ourselves, give ourselves the ability to grow and room to make mistakes. But when we make those mistakes, we live and we learn, and we pass down the lessons, and we give our children the ability and the room to grow and develop to be the best them that they can be. And the only way we could do that is by giving them every opportunity that's in the books for them. And so that's another 2 cents that I'll throw out there. And so I'll pass it over.
No, I mean, that was good. I think that we hit a lot of different key points. We hit a lot of, I think we kind of left some practical things that people can actually do and go look up. You heard, we spoke about a lot of things, but as we said in the beginning, question everything. Go read about it. Go find out about it. There's a book on everything. I grew up reading books. I remember my mom gave me book reports for the summertime. So I had to read a book and then write a book report, and I had to report on it before the summer break. So now my daughter, I read to them all the time, read them just about every night. And now summertime, she's on summer break, I think starting in June, and she has homework every day. She does math, she does her cursive writing, she does reading, and she does her vocabulary. And so, and that's a daily standard we continue to do and maintain, because we're in the age where we're teaching children, and teaching doesn't just happen. You don't just, well, how do I know what, this crazy equation, how do I know how to do that? It doesn't just pop into your head. You have to be taught the basics, foundations of math and arithmetic. Once you learn those basic foundations, you can kind of add on that. And so right now we're just teaching the basics, giving her the foundation. And once again, once she's doing it, I'm all about the oldest being their brother's keeper, being their little sibling's keeper. It's like, hey, if you're doing this right, if you're showing your little brother how to be with his studies, guess what he's going to start doing? He's going to start saying, well, all this stuff, you get all this cool stuff because you get to do good grades. Well, I'm going to get good grades too, so I get all that cool stuff too. And so now Noah's going to start doing these things. He's going to start taking his math time seriously, start taking his cursive writing very seriously. So it's just kind of showing them example, showing them the ropes, and just keeping that standard. I'm all about, for us, we have a standard where I call it, I'm here to establish a standard, and then we set the standard, maintain the standard, and then we have to also sometimes enforce it. There's a disciplinarian portion that we forget about in parenting. It doesn't have to be a, not whooping your kids all the time. It's literally just having a talk with them, like helping them to understand, like, do you understand your decisions? Do you understand, like, when you make the decision, this is what happens? Like, there's a consequence when you make a bad decision, but then sometimes it can be a reward for those things. And so just kind of like say, you're just teaching them, like literally teaching them how life works. Because sometimes as parents, we think that just because we brought them here and we tell them all this stuff, I told you this 12 times. That's not teaching them. They may be learning something from those experiences, but you're not teaching them. You're just telling them things. And if you're at work, imagine if your supervisor just told you everything, but never taught you nothing how to, never taught you how to do your job. You won't be good at your job. And so same thing for us as parents, like it's a skill set. We got to teach them that skill. And so it's a fun job. It's pretty much a really awesome job. We have family mottos we do, I think we have a really great family motto that the kids love to say it every time, every day. Like, if they make a mistake, I know we're supposed to listen to love, and I know, okay, let's do it. Let's do better. And so just, it's a great opportunity, great time to be a father. I can keep saying that over and over because I have a great example, man. And it's like, man, to be able to see what I don't want, or, be able to do what I don't want to have my kids grow up with what I grew up with. I want them to have something better. I want them to know that at the end of the day, hey, dad's here. I'm here. Regardless of what happens in the future when she's, 7 years old next year, 12, 15, 24, 34, 50, 50 years old. I want to know her daddy's here. Hey, baby girl, I got you. Son, I got you. I got you. So yeah, that's my last 2 cents I have to add on this whole entire beautiful cake we made.
Man, you hit on so much. Oh my goodness. Oh, oh man. I was thinking on some things and I was like, man, that's good. That's good. Dang, yeah, that was good, man. That was good. Man, yeah. As parents, like I said, we got to do better. Know better, do better. As you mentioned in the beginning, know better, do better. That's been our motto since we were little kids, and that kind of stuck with me too. But are we products of our environment? No. Do some of those environmental things still affect us? Absolutely. But do we push past our environment and do I go back to my environment? Absolutely. I go back to my environment all the time and do my best. Rocking with the Fletchers. That's the whole purpose of Rocking with the Fletchers, is to go into the inner city communities and expose the kids to things that I didn't have exposure to, and the ability to see things that we weren't able to see, like 2 Black rocket scientists married with 2 little Black rocket scientists running around. Like, it's crazy. When I even say it, it's like, wait, what? Like, that's just nuts. But yeah, so I mean, are we products of our environment? No. Do some people stay a product of their environment? Absolutely. I think it all goes down to choices. Like I said, as parents, we have the ability to make choices. Clarence was hitting on the thing at the end about discipline, and I think that's a really big thing. Like, how you discipline your kids. Well, my mom and dad used to just pop me and tell me to do it, and so I would just do it versus actually giving the kid understanding. I know, not because like you say, my boss, if he tells me 10 times not to do a thing and never shows me how to, then I'll never know how to actually do it. I'm just gonna know what not to do and not how to do. Oh God, that is deep. I know what not to do, but not how to do. If you made it in this episode, you're getting blessed right now. But hey, we want to thank everybody for coming out to join us tonight or today in the morning, whenever you're watching this, episode 3, Am I a Product of My Environment? I'm gonna pass it over to you, Clarence. You can do some closing words, and we're gonna close it out for tonight.
Of course, man. So once again, we said a lot. Thank you guys for just hanging with us, for the last 60 minutes. I hope you guys are encouraged. I hope more so, not just encouraged, right? Because it's not just about trying to give you a good band-aid, slap on the butt, good game. I hope you were challenged. I really hope that you guys were, hope you saw yourself like, man, that's a high step to take. But not like you're fearful to take it, but now you have people, you have information, you have knowledge that you can use to utilize. Hey, well, you know what? That step is kind of high for me, but how do I get up there? You know what? Hey guys, I need help getting to that step. And so I challenge you guys to go out there, understand your environment. See, hey, if I continue to make these choices in this environment, does it get me close to where I want to be in life? Does it get me close to where God has called me to be? And if it don't add up, you need to change. If the numbers don't add up, don't make the deal. And so I challenge you guys to, be a different product. Add something different. 1 times 1 equals 1, but it doesn't have to be. It needs to be 1 times 3 to be 3. Change that multiplication. Change that product where you are to be able to change your environment. So thank you guys for sticking with us. Have fun. Be encouraged.
Absolutely. Hey, appreciate it, Clarence. Thank you for joining in tonight. Elevator Talk, episode 3. Am I a product of my environment? No. Have a blessed day. Thank you guys for tuning in. And we look forward to catching you on the next episode of Elevator Talk, episode 4, coming your way soon. Thank you. God bless.